Welcome back to the studio sessions. My name is Brooke, and we're getting business heavy in this episode. Now, I know I've talked incessantly about it. You guys know I'm super intrigued by this topic, and there's a significant update that I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about the Warner Brothers situation again. I also have a bit of a Thanksgiving box office breakdown because it was a better weekend than might be anticipated. So, we're going to talk about that. First, I want to remind you, if you've been enjoying the studio sessions, give this a like if you're on YouTube, share it everywhere from whatever platform you're listening to this on. And of course, make sure you are subscribed so that you know when the next episode comes out. All free, wonderful ways to support the podcast. Okay, yes, we're back to talking about Warner Brothers again. I know. When is this situation going to end? You know, I might actually be nervous for it to end because I'm scared where it's going. I want it to be, I want the answers, right? Like, I want to know where this is going, but I'm nervous to see where it's going. In an article today, the day I'm recording this, which is Monday, December 1st, on Deadline, I will link the article below in the show notes just so you guys can see it. It is sharing that some updated bids have been put in. This last week was the deadline for those bids, for offers for Warner Brothers. And so I think everything was kind of being last minute wrapped up and like, okay, this is what we officially want to do. And this article has a lot of good insight and information. So the first part of it that I want to talk about says the financial and logistical details of the offers and the shape of the resulting company remain fluid. AKA, we still don't know how this is all going to pan out. We don't know how much it's going to go for. We don't know what the end result of what the company looks like is going to be. All to be seen. TBD. Bloomberg reported earlier Monday, so earlier today, that I'm recording it, that Netflix submitted an all-cash offer for the studios and streamers division of WB. Is anyone surprised? No. No. Why would Netflix want to get into the traditional TV market and all of the channel? Like, why? Why would they want that? They wouldn't. Comcast and Netflix are interested in only the studios and streamers part, while Paramount's bid is for the entire company. So Paramount is the only offer being put in. If this reporting is like accurate, that keeps the company a whole entity, that doesn't break it apart. Now, the part of the remaining company being fluid comes in when it's like, well, okay, so either Comcast or Netflix gets them. They want the streamers, the studios. What happens with the rest? We don't know. We don't know what would happen with the rest. So that's where we're at with that. And I think it'll be interesting to see how hard some of these pushes to get the company go. Like, how big of a bidding war does this turn into? If everybody knows everybody's putting in bids, like, how much of a battle does this actually become? The next paragraph down from that is really intriguing also because it kind of talks about the value of Warner Brothers. It says Wall Street analysts, citing recent press reports, estimate that Warner Brothers, HBO, and the deep vault of franchises and library titles, all of the content, could be worth at least $70 billion. The market value of WBD, which currently includes linear TV networks like CNN, TNT, and Discovery, was $59 billion at the end of Monday's trading day. Wow. So, this is where we're at. That's an estimated value. These are what we're seeing from the companies. We don't know numbers on the offers. I think reports are only stating that Netflix and Comcast only want the streamers and studios, while Paramount wants the whole thing. I could see interest going either way, though, right? Like, to either of those sides kinds of offers. Like, if they want to make this quick, simple, easy, clean, and done, right? They go with Paramount. They go with Paramount. Just have it all taken care of. There's no messiness. There's no, it's all just the whole thing. They take the entire company. But if there is a vibe conflict, because Paramount's already put in 2 or 3 offers, I think, that have been declined by Warner Brothers. If there's a butting of heads between them and Paramount, and so they are just not wanting Paramount at all, then the other offers are gonna seem a little more enticing. So that'll be really interesting. I think part of me was hoping somebody else would swoop in, and that doesn't seem to be happening. Like some private investor that just loves movies or whatever and just wants to be a part of it, right? But they're not going to run anything. They're not going to change anything. They just want to own it. Because then Warner Brothers essentially gets to stay all the same. But with all of these names being talked about, even Paramount, though they're wanting the whole company, I do worry there will still be changes to Warner Brothers. And as Matt Bellany and Lucas Shaw talked about on The Town a few episodes ago, this is one of the last remaining original Hollywood studios. Like, there's very few left. And so this feels like a bigger deal in a lot of regards, right? This just feels different because of it being one of the final remaining studios and what impact this could have industry-wide with where the industry's at right now. And Paramount would not take them out of theaters. Comcast might not either. Netflix, we know, would. Netflix would change more than anyone else, in my opinion. That's my guess, is that they would be changing more of what's happening than anybody else. And there's a reason that they only want the studios and streamers, which, again, nobody's really shocked. It is the easier part to take, is the studio and the streamers for those buying parts of Warner Brothers, because the TV networks, linear TV, is not doing well right now in any capacity. So it's not surprising, but I also do like it. I do get worried because it does line up with my concerns with Netflix buying them, or any part of them. Seemingly now they're only going to attempt that, which the studios and streamers, which is not surprising. So we'll see. I do also want to highlight the paragraph again below that the new bids are considered binding, but parties could still alter their offers. One participant said the private process being managed by WBD could involve an exclusive negotiating window with one of the suitors, though that wouldn't necessarily preclude the other parties from re-entering the fray. WBD CEO David Zaslav has reportedly expressed confidence that the M&A process, mergers and acquisition, could be wrapped up by the end of December. So this is all going to happen really fast, probably, which probably is a good thing. I mean, it being wrapped up by the end of the year might not be a bad thing for, like, everybody involved. Start the new year fresh with, like, that decision made, that figured out, and move forward in the new year, you know? I think that could be really good. So, again, I will link this Deadline article if you want to see it. It was interesting. It's an interesting read. I think it'll be fun, intriguing to keep watching this play out. And I'll keep you guys updated as I find out more. So if you're interested for this, make sure you're subscribed. Before we get into box office breakdowns and what happened over the Thanksgiving weekend, I want to take just a minute to talk about a project that I'm really, really proud of. My name is Brooke, and I have Turner syndrome.
Turner syndrome is the result of missing either an X or Y chromosome.
I was diagnosed with Turner syndrome at about age 13. As far as symptoms or health complications, I'm very lucky.
My Turner syndrome story started like when I was 5 years old.
So I was 7, and I was diagnosed in Houston, Texas.
I was diagnosed with Turner syndrome upon my birth in April of '94.
I was diagnosed when I was 2.5 in June of 2002.
I was diagnosed with mosaic Turners when I was 12.
I was eventually diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. That is the trailer for my film Like a Butterfly that is now available to stream on my website. So find it in the show notes and you can either rent or purchase it on our website. Okay, box office breakdown time. So this was an interesting headline to see after what we talked about like Halloween weekend being the lowest box office weekend just in general, and that Pixar was not having great openings, and they hadn't had a great opening since like 2017. And the dailies, the newsletter that I use to keep up to date with everything going on, I will link it below. I highly recommend subscribing if you're interested in that, if you're interested in the breakdown of everything that's happening in the industry. The dailies is amazing and I love it. So I will put a link in the show notes if you would like to check out the dailies email newsletter. It's so great. So they actually headlined the box office section by titling it Disney's second best Thanksgiving ever. And just to give you the numbers, this is about Zootopia 2, by the way. Zootopia 2 came out this last weekend. 96.8 million domestic, 3-day, 156 million 5-day opening, 556.4 million global, and $150 million budget. This was the second best Thanksgiving ever, behind only Moana 2, which was last Thanksgiving. And they say it opened to 272 million in China alone, which is more than the original made there in its entire run. Crazy. So I think part of what we've been talking about is coming to fruition. Like, people are trying to find good things to watch, and I think it shows there's a need, right? So I also love they have ranked all the different movies that came out, and they're in order of what their budgets did, like how well they did, usually in comparison to their budgets. So Zootopia 2 is 1. Wicked for Good was number 2, and it was their second week, because they came out the week before. Number 3 was Now You See Me, Now You Don't, and they were in the 3rd week. Number 4 was Predator Badlands, which was in their 4th week. Number 5 was The Running Man, which was in its 3rd week. And number 6 was Eternity, which was in their opening weekend also. Number 7 was Rental Family, which was week 2 for them. Hamnet, it was their opening. It was number 8. Number 9 was Sisu Road to Revenge. It was their 2nd week. And number 10, in their 4th week of being out, was Nuremberg. Nuremberg actually, like, looks really interesting. And, it looks like a really interesting story. But I digress. So, I think even that list of movies, like, it's so clear cut of a picture of, like, how much and what's available and what is actually being made and what's making money there. I feel like there's a lot that picture confirms of what we talked about before with, like, the missing need in the industry right now. You know, and I think the Oscars, which I know it's not Oscar season yet. I'm not going to start making predictions right now. But I will say, I agree with a lot of what the common sentiment has been in critique of the Oscars, of, like, it's no longer movies that average moviegoer has seen. It's artsy, indie, international, more obscure movies that most people haven't seen. It may not even know even existed before seeing its name on the Oscars. So I hope that starts shifting. I think we are seeing a little bit of a change in the box office with people, like, bringing back things audiences are kind of being a little more vocal about wanting. But we got to have more of an effort in that. And I think the Oscars can be a change in that, where it's like, okay, more for the average moviegoer, not all art house films. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and not that that doesn't have its place, but, like, that's why the Oscars audience has gone down. It's because what's being nominated, what's being talked about and awarded, they haven't even seen, like, 9 out of the 10 things. So I think that's important to think about for the length of the industry. Like, I think the industry has been shrinking because of that. I think it's a symptom of the way the industry has been functioning. Like, they've shrunk the audience that way. Where, just in general, there's less interest because of what's being fed, because of what's being made, because of what's even there available, you know, and I think that that's important to think about. And I think this box office breakdown kind of shows that really, really nicely. So again, check it out. And it'll give you a little helpful insight. I love their reporting. So yeah, that's the box office breakdown. And now for a recommend before we wrap up this week's show. And it's a Netflix documentary that came out that I had not heard anything about until it was already streaming. And it was actually interesting. It was Being Eddie, which was about Eddie Murphy. I watched it last night. It was really interesting to see not only more about him, but also to see like Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, all talking about their experiences with him and kind of their perspective, and they were kind of coming up in comedy in his heyday, and then him going back to SNL. That whole part was so cool. Just seeing all of the SNL people and that whole perspective, that whole storyline was really, really intriguing to me. And his perspective on like creating all the characters was really cool. So I recommend checking it out. It's on Netflix. It's called Being Eddie. And yeah, it was really good. So I think if you enjoy the types of conversations we're having, you might enjoy that. That's all for this week's studio sessions. I will see you guys next week, and we'll see if anything more has come of the Warner Brothers situation. Bye. The Studio Sessions is a Butterfly Entertainment production. You can keep up with all of our podcasts, YouTube videos, films, and other projects on our Instagram page. We are at Butterfly Entertainment Group. Thanks for listening.